Testing. Not working. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello.
That's I'll try not to put it in my mouth. Hello. Hello, lovely lot. So we've got a little bit of a different format tonight at the Game Dev Group. Obviously, any of you who've been before will know that we tend to do things upstairs. We're going to start doing things downstairs, mainly because we're closer to the bar, so happy days. Yeah, always good. Welcome to the Game Dev Group. Thank you all for being here. For those of you who don't know, there are many of you who do, and I'm sure are fed up with me saying this because I say it at every event, but the Game Dev Group is a passionate group of game developers who come together every month, and sometimes more, to meet, learn, and collaborate, and say hello. So, say hello is just shorthand for coming in and being the most welcoming, awesome, inclusive game developers and community that we can be. So that means, like, if you see people who you don't know, if they're new, go and say hello to them. If you are new, just walk up to some people and say hello. Very friendly people, so that's what it's all about. So I'd like to start the event by saying a massive thank you to everyone who's involved. So that's first and foremost all of you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who's on the stream as well. Massive thank you to Dee Dee, who you'll see taking photos. Dee Dee has completely taken over the organisation of events and is an absolute godsend. She's doing an incredible job. So if they suddenly peak up in quality, it's completely thanks to Dee Dee. So if you are interested in giving a talk, you can speak to me or Dee Dee. We've got a speakers form that you can fill out, and at the end of the day, you're all lovely people, very friendly audience, so it's just a chat among friends, right? So if you're interested, come and let me know. Thank you as well to just everyone in the community who kind of gets involved, helps out, posts things in the Discord, engages in the Discord, engages on LinkedIn, and just gets stuck in and does awesome stuff to build it into a really sort of active, inclusive community. Thank you to our ever-growing list of speakers as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this slide because it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and busier and busier. But thank you to everyone past and present who comes and gives talks, because we couldn't do it without you. So, you know, the GDG wouldn't be what it is without people who give their time and expertise. So thank you to them. Thank you as well to our awesome partners. So the guiding principle on partnerships with the GDG is that value has to be two ways. So basically, to give you an example of that, Mill Street, they give us this space, they let us come in. It's become the home of the Game Dev Group. And they're just wonderful people to work with. So if you're looking for co-working spaces or hot desking or offices, then speak to the team, because they're just wonderful, approachable people and very helpful. Playground Games as well, again, wonderful team that we're working with there. So we're working with the recruitment team because they are heavily recruiting at the moment for Forza, obviously one of the biggest franchises on Xbox, and also for Fable, one of the most anticipated games for me, maybe in the last century. So if you want to work on those games, then speak to Playground. Also Black Cat, so Black Cat Entertainment. Luke, who you might know from the community, has built Black Cat, is basically building games and trying to help juniors get into the industry. So if you're interested in that, speak to Luke. And then sorcery.gg is just an awesome resource for games jobs. That again is Millie from the community. So she's a game dev building a games jobs platform for other game devs. And there's about 15,000 jobs listed on there now, so it's just an enormous, awesome resource. So if you're looking for a job, go to sorcery.gg. And then Creative Futures, massive thank you to them for sponsoring tonight's event. So Creative Futures are just doing really cool things for the creative cluster and SMEs in the creative industry, and have a big pile of cash that they're trying to help people get hold of. So David will be speaking to you about that later on. So a few kind of housekeeping things, I suppose. So just quickly, if you need the toilet, there is one here, but obviously this is like the speaker zone, so you'll be caught on camera going to the loo, so don't do that. So they're through there. So if you go to those toilets over there, if you've got drinks and stuff and you want to take a wander, please don't go outside because Mill Street will potentially lose their license, so no going out with drinks, please. And then, just in terms of what we're doing in the next few weeks, next few months, we've got our next speaker event on the 14th of November. We've got 5 more recruitment-focused events from Playground. So we've done one of those already, focused on engineers. It was a roaring success. It was just a really, really good night. And our next one of those is on the 20th of November, and that's going to be aimed mostly at environment artists, character artists, vehicle artists. So if you're interested in being an artist with Playground, then come along to that event. We've got the Game Jam, the third GDG Jam, kicking off in 2 days. That's going to be a week long. It's all being run through Discord and itch.io. So if you want to make cool things with cool people, jump into the Discord, join a team, and make something awesome. And submit it on itch.io, get it voted on, and win some stuff, some kudos. Maybe a t-shirt, we'll see. Bring your own games. So next one of these is on the 8th of November. If you haven't been before, it's just a really fun event where you can, if you're an indie working on a game and you want to get some community feedback, you can put it in people's hands, get some people playing them. You can bring an N64, you can bring a Nintendo Switch and just play Mario Kart if that's what you want to do, or you can bring board games and play board games with people, or a pack of cards and play cards, whatever you like. It's just a good way to get involved with the community and have some fun. So we've finished our Industry Led Bootcamps, and we've got some very talented people looking for work. So if you've got junior roles open and you're interested in speaking to them, I can point you in the direction of some very talented people, so let me know. And that's basically it from me. We've got up front Chris Alexander, who's a indie freelancer, programmer and designer. And then after that, we've got David Hollis, Knowledge Exchange Manager at Creative Futures. So you may have seen that Chris is covering a slightly controversial topic, so I will ask, if you're going to throw anything, please make sure it's soft. And aim at Chris, not me. Yeah, well, catch a cookie and eat it if you want. Yeah, cool, there you go. Sweet, so that's enough from me. I'll pass you over to Chris. If we can give him a nice big, warm GDG welcome, please.
Hi everyone. So, I'm Chris Alexander, as it says on the slides. I'm a designer and programmer, but I can put anything on these slides, so I can, just trust me, I do a bit of design and a bit of programming. But if you want any credentials, you can go to admiraled.com, and I've got a bit of a portfolio there. And you can go to LinkedIn. So yeah, add me on LinkedIn. So this talk's going to last about 45 minutes. And we're going to do some questions at the end. But yeah, if you want to pop to the bar or pop to the loo, feel free. Don't worry, I've been there. I've been 10 minutes in, and I want to leave as well. So don't you worry about that. So this talk is not a talk about AI. Okay? So I didn't want to talk about AI, and by AI I mean generative AI. Okay, not just the classical AI. I didn't want to talk about generative AI because it's a sensitive subject. And this is my first talk in the games industry. And why would you cover a really controversial subject for your first talk? You just wouldn't do it. So I've decided to do a short talk of some topics that I'm interested in, which have absolutely nothing to do with generative AI. Actually, on the topic, just while we're talking about generative AI, you know what I mean by generative AI, like ChatGPT and like Mid-Journey and that sort of stuff. Sorry, going a bit off topic here, but bear with me. I want to do some audience engagement with people. So, can you put your hand up if you use generative AI in your day-to-day kind of workflow? Okay, a few. Okay, cool. Can you put a second hand up if you have built software which has a generative AI functionality? Okay, cool. So about 4 or 5, and then a handful of people using generative AI for their day-to-day work. That's cool. But it's absolutely nothing to do with this talk, so let's move on. So today we're going to talk about disruptive innovation, wealth distribution in society, and we're going to talk about ideas and inspiration. So, I'm not an expert in any of these topics, unfortunately. So you might say, Chris, why are you talking about any of this stuff? And to that I'd say, well, you'll know more in about 15 minutes. Disruptive innovation, okay? This is when something comes along and has like a radical impact. It could be like a product or a service or a tech, and it significantly changes some of the established structures and markets and kind of like the way of life for people. So if you look back, and what I've got here is a couple of historical examples, you can find from the historical examples a bit of an idea of what's going to happen if there were to be a disruptive innovation coming in. So we're going to talk about two things. One is the printing press, and the other is automated looms. Okay? So the printing press, in the 15th century that came along, and obviously before they were doing any printing, they'd have to write everything, they'd have to draw, manuscripts. And that was quite time-consuming and precious. So the printing press came along and made it very easy to print and copy information, distribute information. And that means more people could read in society, and the common man could start spreading ideas. Well, this was good for some people, but like religions who had a lot of power back in the day, potentially not so good for them because people start distributing different religious information. So if you look at examples of the printing press, you can look and find where the printing press wasn't adopted. So like the Ottoman Empire, they banned print, well they didn't ban it, but they didn't adopt it. They didn't adopt printing in Arabic until like the 18th century. And you can see the consequences of that. You can see that they fell behind European powers in literacy, and you can see that they limited the spread of their scientific knowledge, things like that. So that's the printing press. And you can see there's positives and negatives to something like this coming along. Now, something a bit more close to home is automated looms, and we're in the Midlands here, so it's relevant. So automated looms meant that people in factories who are hand weaving textiles would basically be able to produce these textiles really quickly. And it meant that lower skilled jobs, factory jobs kind of became available, but it also had a negative effect. The mastery of like weaving and stuff just kind of went out the window. It didn't happen. We kind of lost that skill. But then there was these people called the Luddites, and they decided that they wanted to push back against the introduction of this technology. So and the impact of this was kind of like short-term positive, but long-term kind of negative. And you can see different regions where they've adopted it and where they haven't adopted it, and the economic prosperity in some, and the economic, not decline, but not keeping up in others. So, all of this isn't to do with games, I understand that. So I've got a slide with a couple of games on, okay? So one is Pentiment on the left-hand side. If you want to learn about the impact of the printing press on like a small town, play that. It's also an awesome game. It is a brilliant game. And this second one on the right-hand side is Brass. Brass is sort of a simulation of the Industrial Revolution. So that's a cool game as well to learn about all this stuff. So can anyone here think of any modern examples of disruptive innovation?
Social media and Uber, that kind of thing.
Social media, that's a good one. Uber, yeah, that's a good one. I've got like electric cars there. I suppose the internet would be a big one. Okay, let's move on. That was disruptive innovation, wealth distribution in society. Don't worry, we've only got about 10 minutes more of this. So, whoa! Hold on there. So when a disruptive innovation comes around, it leads to an increase in productivity. Normally. So like the automated loom, for example, increased productivity, we've made stuff faster. Productivity is the amount of stuff being made over the amount of time or materials it takes to make it. So where did this money go? If you think about it, you get into thoughts about like capitalism on one side and communism on the other side. Capitalism is obviously what we kind of live in at the moment. That's our system where it's profit and growth motivated. It's private ownership of things. And then obviously that's positive and that can be negative. And communism is the other side of things where we're trying to eliminate private ownership entirely. And you can think of historical examples of like the Soviet Union. So, here are some games. Disco Elysium has got some really good social commentary on capitalism. The Death of Stalin is a really good movie, so you should just watch it anyway because it's funny. But it kind of gives you an idea of like the Soviet Union, the end of the Soviet Union. And Papers, Please by Lucas Pope is an amazing game, and it kind of does the same thing and puts you in the shoes of somebody on border control, which seems very mundane, but it's actually really good commentary about how that sort of society, that sort of just a bit of a Russian parody will work. So that is wealth distribution in society. So finally, almost at the end, ideas and inspiration. So this section is a bit more like nebulous and a bit more sort of sporadic than the other two. I mean, the other two, I'm not an expert, as I say, but so I'm just going to talk through a few thoughts I have about ideas and inspiration. So with the internet, our generation has more access to more information than anyone in the entire of human history, so books and articles, whatever. And humans can consume a lot of information, we want to do that, and we consume a massive variety of information. And the way I kind of think of it is, from a creativity perspective, the more that you consume, the more that's kind of rattling around in your brain, and the easier it is to form new ideas by kind of connecting this web of disparate information, this web of material. So, question for you guys, are there any musicians here? Very enthusiastic. Come on over there. If you're a musician, you probably have the thing where you walking down the road and you think of a good melody, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, and you record it to your phone, and you send it to your mate, and then your mate sends you back a text message, and they're like, isn't that just this song? And you're like, oh yeah, I suppose it is. Are there any writers? No. Well, writers, apparently, have this thing where they might write a passage or a phrase or a plot or something like that, which when they read it back a couple of weeks later, it's really similar to a lot of other work. And this sort of phenomenon has a word, and it's called, that's right, cryptomnesia, okay? And you can think of it as like unconscious plagiarism. So the definition is, it's like forgetting the source of the information and misattributing it, thinking that it's your own thoughts. And we get a lot of this these days because it's digital age. We're taking in so much information all the time. So you can think of like examples of like Led Zeppelin and things like that. Let me just get my notes for 1 second. Ooh. See, I wasn't memorising all of this. It's actually just reading it off here. But it's got to the point now where I can't scroll down. So, cryptomnesia, unconscious plagiarism. Okay. This is a good bit. There's a couple of hypotheticals I want to kind of go through in this unconscious plagiarism thing that we're talking about. So, if you asked somebody to draw you a face, and you asked them to draw you a face in the style of Picasso, and you ask somebody else to draw your face in the style of the Cubist style, and then you ask somebody to draw your face. Which of these is more consciously plagiarism? Well, it's the first one, really, isn't it? It's Picasso. However, what if there was a person that was trapped for 30 years inside the Paris Picasso Museum, right? And they didn't have any human contact and didn't have any mirrors or anything. They just didn't see any human faces. This is like a psychological horror I'm kind of pitching, so don't steal this. But what would they draw if you asked them to draw a face? Another kind of hypothetical. What if you could mould like a human mind with the exact kind of set of information from the sources that you know, like a reference, and what if you asked that to draw a face? And if you compare these two examples, you know, which is fairer, which is more plagiaristic? I don't know if that's the word. I don't know, and that's kind of the point. I don't know the answer to these questions really. I just kind of come up with them. What defines plagiarism? What defines inspiration? It's interesting, but as you can kind of get, it's really, really complicated, especially these days. Next slide. Yeah, I do that. So I couldn't really think of a good example of ideas and plagiarism in games. I'm sure there are. I'm sure you guys can come up with it. But I did remember like the Nemesis system. This is like a classic case of a company coming up with a really, really cool gameplay mechanic, and then patenting it so no one could use it ever again. But yeah, the Nemesis system was something that came up with quite a while ago now, and it got patented. But yeah, it's one of those things that you could always worry, that you could always wonder, given the amount of time and given the maturity of the games industry, would somebody else have come up with this idea of their own accord if it wasn't patented? Okay, that's it. So that's my talk. Hope you found it informative. I've been Chris. Okay. I've got to come clean because I'll be honest, this talk has been a ruse, it's been a sham, and you're all here on a false pretense. Because you thought this was not a talk about AI, when in fact, this is a talk about AI. Oh my god, Chris, we didn't see this one coming. So yeah, I know you're thinking, you bastard. We're all here, and you made us come to this talk, and now you've turned it around. Unbelievable. We didn't want to listen to you talk about AI. How long we got? Yeah, probably 2 hours more of this. Okay, so this is a talk about AI, okay? This section at least, and kind of the last section was, in fact. Because I think the game developer community does need to talk about AI. And I'll be a bit serious for this moment. I'm not here to talk about this and try and change anyone's mind about generative AI, okay? And I'm being sincere about that. What I want to do with this talk is to improve the conversations that we have around generative AI, because I do think sometimes we get into conversations which are quite shallow about this topic. And I don't think that's our fault. I think it's like modern social media kind of funnels us into these shallow, like binary conversations. Controversy drives engagement, and we live in a capitalist society, so engagement makes money. Money's the end goal, and that's another talk for another time. So I wanted to present a bit of information and help facilitate conversations around AI. So I hope my intentions are clear now, at least. And you can see that I'm trying to come at this from a position of neutrality and just talk about it, okay? So, this is a talk about AI, and let's talk about some science-ish. Markets. Markets. Can anyone guess what this is? Yes, that's the Nvidia stock for the last 5 years. And this is good for people who invested. Yeah, that's the kind of uptake in Nvidia stock, because they make GPUs, obviously. And GPUs are an integral part of AI. Can anyone tell me what this? Well, I mean, it's a title. Microsoft bought a nuclear power plant on a 3-mile island to meet power demands for their data centers. And this is Ed Coates. Now, Ed, he made the Game UI database. And the Game UI database is awesome. So if you haven't been on the Game UI database, suggest you use it, have a look at it later on. It's such a good reference point for Game UI, it's awesome. This is Ed talking on LinkedIn, and Ed is saying that OpenAI has been basically DDoSing, sort of spamming his site with trying to collect as much information as they can, and as a result, the users of the site have been not had the best user experience. So that's an interesting one. But that is the third component of building an AI model. You need data. So it's GPU, electricity, and data. Tech. Electricity, GPU, data. So the fundamental part of an AI, a generative AI, is the model. So you get all this stuff, electricity, data, and GPU, you stick it in this super clever AI model builder, and out pops a bunch of models, right? This top one costs 78 million and is GPT-4. So some of you might know ChatGPT. Well, the underlying model for ChatGPT is GPT-4. This one here is Midjourney. This one is Llama 3 by Meta, Facebook does. And this one is Stable Diffusion by Stability AI. Now the different colours, the green ones are text-to-text models. So it's like a chatbot, right? You type in some text and it sends you some stuff back. The blue ones are text-to-image. Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. I'll come to why they're patterned in that way now. Not now, in a bit. Okay? So that's it. Electricity plus GPU plus data equals AI models. Lots of different flavours of them. So, how do you use an AI model? How does that turn into an AI service? Well, you get the model, you stick it in a data centre with loads of computers, stick it on loads of computers, you give it some electricity and a load of GPU power, and then you expose that via an API. So basically, you allow people to connect to it and you allow other services to connect to it and talk to it. So in ChatGPT, you'll know, if you have it on your mobile phone, you can talk to it that way, or you can talk to it in the browser. And that's going mobile, browser, in here, to a load of data centers where this model sits. And it's the same with Midjourney, except Midjourney is through Discord. Okay. So an AI model, plus some GPU, plus some more electricity equals these generative AI services. So remember when we talked about capitalism and communism earlier, you might have forgot that. It was a bit of a fever dream, wasn't it? It was a while ago. Okay, I forgot about this slide. This, text to text, what's the best cheese for a cheese sandwich? And ChatGPT gives you the best cheese. This Midjourney, text to image, picture of best cheese sandwich. You get a picture of a cheese sandwich. You know how these things work. I don't need to tell you. Now, this is, say, the interesting part. It's been interesting all the way through. But this is even more interesting to a nerd like me. So, this one, Llama 3, this model that Meta made, or Facebook made, and this one, Stable Diffusion, Stability AI made it, they're available to download. You can download these giant models, like, they're massive, they're like 16 gig. And you can download them from Hugging Face. So if you go on Hugging Face, you'll be presented with this massive amount of information. But what you want to care about and search for, on the model section at the top, search for Llama 3. And you can find the published AI model that's been created with the data and with the electricity and with the GPU power. You can download it yourself. There they are. There's some Llama ones. There's some Stable Diffusion ones. This is the model card for Llama. Now, this is basically just like a load of information about the model. But the interesting bits here is like the parameters. This tell you how sophisticated these models are and kind of how big they are. It also tells you how they're trained. So remember, Ed got all his UI data stolen? Well, they'll have taken that UI data, put a load of text against it, and then fed it into their model. That's how it gets kind of built. So that is the tech behind it. And now, the bit we've all been waiting for, generative AI in games. So I've got a few examples. This is like fairly immature part, I guess, of the industry, but there's some interesting examples of how you can use AI as fresh new mechanics in games. This is a YouTube video from quite a few months ago now, where somebody put together a reverse Turing test in Unity. The way it works is there's 6 figures in a compartment on a train and 6 figures from history. 5 of those are AIs, different AIs, and 1 of those people is you. And what you've got to do is convince the rest of the AIs that you are also an AI, and 1 of the other AIs is the human. So that's just kind of an example of what you can do with this sort of thing. Here's another game called Suck Up. And in this game, I haven't played this, I kind of just watched it on YouTube. It seems a bit weird, but you're a vampire, and you go and knock on people's doors, and they're like, there's Grandma, and she's like, who are you? Sonny? And you're like, I'm the plumber. Your son invited me to come and take a look at your plumbing. Not in that way. And then Grandma would be like, come into the bedroom. So, this is my AI project. Pretty good, isn't it? Visually stunning is what I call it. So I spent a day, because I was interested in this sort of stuff, hooking up my test project, which is a spinning cube, to some generative AI. So like an AI non-playable character. So you can talk to this cube, and there were people talking to this cube, interactive features. And what was really interesting about it is I had about 3 prototypes there, 2 of which I spent about 3 months on. And this one was by far the most interesting for people, and I spent the longest on it. What was cool about this is the kind of emergent behaviour you get from it. So the way you define the character of this cube is, information about the cube's backstory, information about what the cube's motivations are. And I didn't spend a long time on it, but I did put in that the cube is afraid of spheres, because I thought it would be funny. And what we got from that was, when a kid typed in, do you like tomatoes? The cube said, no, I don't like tomatoes because they're shaped like spheres, and I'm afraid of spheres. And I thought that was a really cool example of like emergent behaviour that nothing to do with my programming, it just came out of the AI model. So, imagine my surprise when I went to develop Brighton, and there was this. Oh, okay, this is the tech part, I've got to click things. Here we go. Did I mention I was a programmer? Oh, maybe I'll have to narrate it as well. Oh, I'm trapped. Actually, it's got So yeah, this is basically this is a game called Dead Meat, made by some guys at Meaning Machine. And this is kind of what I thought you could get to if you started with a spinning cube. This is you interrogating somebody to try and find out whether they, well, to get them to confess to killing their husband, I think. And you can see that there's a fair bit of like mechanics in it, and the interesting part about this was the amount of engagement it had at Develop Brighton. There were so many people that were watching this thing, playing this thing. People were playing it for ages. I was trying to get to play it, and I was just waiting there for like 15 minutes, and yeah, anyway. Okay, we don't need it again. Maybe we do. So, after this, the guys from Meaning Machine, they were giving out kind of early access, they were inviting people for early access to the back end of this game. And the back end technology of this game is called Conversation Creator. And that's what we're going to demo. We're going to talk to it. And we'll show you how to set up AI NPC. And we'll see what kind of comes out when we talk to it. The point about this is like a two-man team from Bristol. So when we're talking about capitalism, communism, open models and all that sort of stuff, what you can see is you can build something like this. You can download a model, you can build something like this yourself if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a big tech company doing it. So let's have a little look at what it is. This is Conversation Creator. So let's start with a project. This is one I put together. It's called Barry's Bits and Bobs. And in this project, you kind of like what I wanted was an interaction with a shopkeeper, like a classic RPG kind of interaction. So I got a load of information from ChatGPT actually, and started filling out what this shopkeeper is. So this is the game info. What experience are you creating? Well, our hero, called William, I think, has walked into a shop in a small town and is greeted by the shopkeeper. So you can see how a writer changes their job from one of writing lines and lines of dialogue to writing a character. You write the game info, you write the world setting. Where's your experience taking place? Camalonia. Describe the world your experience has taken place. Camalonia is a realm of misty moors and enchanted forests, ruled by the perpetually befuddled King Nob the Nincompoop from his throne in Arsville. Yeah, I went for like a random comedy nonsense one. And there's more to the world description, and you can fill that out. You can fill out your player character. So I've tried to go for like an everyman player character. You can fill out the NPCs, so we're going to talk to a shopkeeper called Barry. It is his shop called Barry's Bits and Bobs, and we're going to do that now, and we're going to see how this goes. So, what should we say to Barry first? Imagine you're entering the shop.
What's up?
What is up? What is up? Question marks going to be hard. I'm just going to do. Barry says, "Oh my god." Oh, Barry. I've got a scroll. Okay, so there's a few elements to this, and you can tie this back to the mechanics we saw in the trailer we just watched. So Barry is excited. His heart rate is 85. His external dialogue is, welcome to Barry's Bits and Bobs. What can I interest you in today? Blah, blah, blah. He wants to sell stuff. That's his thing. He's a shopkeeper. And he's got his internal monologue as well. Another customer, eh? Let's see if I can get them to buy some of this junk. Yeah, classic shopkeeper. But you can see how these elements, which are coming from the generative AI model, get fed back into the game. So you've got this internal monologue, you've got the external monologue. So what should we say to Barry?
Yes, I know about this place. Welcome to my shop. Again.
Look, we have to put ourselves in we have to be like William. Let's not break it just yet. Let's do a sensible conversation first. Go on. Think of a better one. Sorry. Anyone? Anyone?
The goblins have stolen my shoes.
Okay, right. We're just doing nonsense then. Let's do that then.
Is that what you wanted?
No, that is good. That is good. The goblins have stolen my shoes. God, this is a silly idea for an interactive. Should have picked just a normal game. Okay, so go. What's this? Oh, opportunistic. Very strange. Oh, those pesky goblins always causing a ruckus. Well, you're in luck, mate. I've got just the thing for you. Back to sales. Enchanted boots that goblins can't pinch. Very smart. Or perhaps a bit of goblin repellent. It's all on special today. That's good. And then the internal, yeah, goblins nicking shoes, typical. What do we want to ask Barry next in this ridiculous conversation? Okay, right. We're gonna. Okay, right. Sure about this? Excited. Barry likes a bit of violence. I see, you're looking for something with a bit more punch, eh? Well, I've got just the thing, a cursed axe that never misses its mark. Nice. Or perhaps a wand that shoots fireballs. That's pretty good. This guy's got everything. Both guaranteed to make goblins think twice before nicking your shoes again. Nice. Tying it back to the old shoes thing. You see this generative AI stuff, it kind of keeps a tally of what you've done in the history, and goes along with that as well. And internal monologue, blimey, this one looks full on violent. Excellent. Anything else?
Can I try the ice?
Sorry, go on.
Can I try the ice?
Can you
Try the ice.
can you try the ice?
Yeah. Ice.
Say it again.
Can I try the ice?
Ah, sorry. Did I try the ice? Question mark? No, I can't do question marks. So this is interesting. We're trying to get. Now we're going to the realm of like trying to get a mechanic out of this guy. So we want to buy the axe, I suppose, and that is up to the designers to try and implement. But yeah, so Barry's gone to cautious mode. Hey mate, no try before you buy here. That's good. So yeah, fancy a swing. So yeah, as you guys can see, it's quite fun. I think, at least. You can kind of ask it literally anything, which is kind of cool. I think they're still doing early access with this, so come chat to me if you want to, if you're interested and want to have a chat with this. Oh, that's actually kind of it. That was the last bit. So next, markets, tech, Gen AI and games. So, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've kind of learned something, and I hope you go away from this and kind of feel like you've got more information to have better conversations. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll take questions now.
Big round of applause for Chris, please. The crowd interaction, but yeah, I thought it was a bit dangerous handing the mic around for that. We had some pretty tame things though. Does anyone got any questions for Chris?
Do you think generative AI will be better for games or for worse?
I just think it'll be different. So it just, for me, it kind of opens up more opportunities for mechanics, really. I just think there's more mechanics that you can get from it. And I think you can kind of weave it into traditional mechanics as well. So with the spinning cube demo, it was kind of trying to be like a Monkey Island thing, where you could press a button and get this cube to drop gold, but you could also persuade the cube by saying, give me gold, give me gold, give me gold, and eventually it would give you gold. So it's kind of like, I don't think it replaces any traditional mechanics. It can be kind of used in conjunction, but it expands what we can do. And obviously, through all of this, you can use it for nefarious purposes if you wanted to, but yeah, I think it expands things.
Sounds like being a bully simulator. Give me gold.
Yeah, I did. Oh, that's my next one, actually.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Easy ones, please.
It's gonna be easy. How do we make money with this? Like loads of money.
Okay. How do you make money?
Are you
So-
trying to set up monetize it again? It's just sorry.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question because when you talk to any of these AI, any AIs, obviously they're sitting in a data center somewhere and they are consuming GPU power and they're consuming electricity, so it costs us to speak to them. So if you're doing a mobile game, for example, they've got the kind of buy credits and spend them on a thing in the game. That's one way to monetize it. And it's also covering your costs, so it seems a little bit fairer. But yeah, I think for me, putting it in traditional games as a utility, maybe, is how I do it. But as you've seen, there's kind of like a couple of games that are coming out already, so it's new experiences, like players want new experiences. And as I said, at Interactive Futures and at Develop Brighton, there were so many people playing it for quite a long time. You can really engage with it for ages. Just ask it whatever you want.
That's a dream.
Yeah.
A game you can always play forever.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, I think you just package it in a traditional game, see how you get on.
Anyone else? We'll go. Okay, right, front to back. So.
Do you believe AI will ever reach a point where it can build its own game from scratch?
Hope not.
The third time it's been tried by Sumo and it failed spectacularly as of current situation.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But
Yeah, current situation, it can't, can it really?
if I may, there's an experience in games of what is fun, what is engaging for the player. There's an emotional experience in games that I don't think can ever be replaced by a machine. That's my personal take. Other people may have different opinions. Please talk to each other after the show.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of like I don't think you can think of it as can an AI build me a game. I think it's can an AI help me build a game and it can. But yeah, I think fundamentally at the moment certainly it can't do the whole thing nor would you want it to, but you can use it to help.
So as with like all new technologies, it normally takes like 5-10 years for the law to sort of catch up with it. How safe is it using this as a new technology? Because like what if in 5 years it suddenly becomes extremely illegal to use any AI at all because of whatever reason?
Yeah, the law part's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and you're totally right. Like the law is so slow to catch up with technology, and it has been ever since the internet. You know, Steam, I don't think allow you to put generative AI games or games with generative AI elements in it.
permission to use all content sources.
Yeah.
Oh,
Map out everything basically,
okay, right.
and then say it as well.
And from a technical standpoint, if you're worried about that, plugging architecture, anything that will quickly remove that part of your game, should it be necessary to patch it up? That's kind of like part of being a games developer is trying to think about the future and thinking about the architecture of your game, the architecture of the source code to mitigate what the future may hold because you never know what it is.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's kind of like, I feel like I'm a technologist as much as I am a developer sometimes. I quite like using new technology, but you know, I think you've just got to remind yourself of where the data's come from sometimes and how the electricity impacts things and yeah, I don't know the answer. If I'm honest. It's a good question.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It's been interesting.
creative problem that you think Gen AI is solving?
What's the creative
Yeah,
problem?
I think you sort of partially answered it when you said it expands future sense or whatnot. But what are the creative problems or challenges? Let's say in the short term, not trying to take too far.
I don't know if it's solving any problems. I mean, if you own a company, the problem it's solving for you is you can increase your productivity a bit with it. Like, you can get your developers to do more and faster with it. So if you call that a problem for the owner of a company, then maybe it helps solve that. Obviously, that's not very helpful for the people who work there. I don't think it solves a problem. I just kind of think in games, if you're using it for game mechanics, it just adds a bit of extra interest to it. Yeah.
I think I'm pretty fine as well. And that's the one thing that I sometimes have take issues with is that we think that it's going to do something for us. So I mean, that's why I focused on creative problems. Because, like you said, production, timelines, budgets, it's probably objective. We can probably agree to say that it saves some money somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think, well, there's an anomaly right now. It's a shining toy, as you said, since disruption periods. How do we navigate? I'm more curious about how we navigate through this, especially from the creative and authorship point of view. That's my main point.
Yeah. I mean, my kind of interest is in the design elements, but I guess whenever you use it, you just got to keep in mind what it is and how it's impacting people's lives. But I don't think you shouldn't use it because of that. You know, that's my take on it. But you guys, come up with your own ideas. That's good. Yeah, I always think, oh man, I'm going to say Brexit. Yeah, in the Brexit thing, there was like people who didn't want to do the Brexit thing, and then there was the people who did want to do the Brexit thing. But then there was the middle ground. And there was the people who were like, well, we think that the European Union isn't that great, but if we're at the table, then we're able to change stuff. So that's kind of how I feel about it. You can choose whether to use a conversation creator, which is developed by a couple of guys in the UK, or you can choose to use a big tech firm's NPC AI. Ultimately, you're probably going to have to choose because your competitors are choosing. So you could make a morally better choice potentially, or go with a morally worse one. Hope that helps.
So, during your talk, you mentioned briefly, and I think maybe skirted over it, so the Microsoft sort of power plant, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know whether it's confirmed, at the very least, I mean, headlines of AI, whatever they did about that for, at the very least, AI takes up a lot of GPU space. GPU means a lot of electricity. Electricity means a massive environmental impact. We've already just seen that with Bitcoin and all that go rip through entire nations where they're just chasing electricity and doing what I can't, I don't want to imagine what impact it might end up having. Just want to maybe pick your brain on whether or not, and what you maybe think about some of the environmental impacts on these AI models, because they are massive. Do we need to be maybe using one or two of these so we have as little impact as possible? Do we need to start enforcing something so you can only use particular things? I don't know. Ways of regenerative power.
It's difficult, isn't it? And that's why I kind of did the bit on communism, capitalism, because capitalism is all about growth, and growth doesn't care about the environment. So human nature is kind of like a bit greedy, not maybe, but.
Capitalism really led to coal power and gas power to this revolution, which isn't necessarily the best.
That's it, yeah. So my kind of feeling of it is I understand that you kind of got to go with it a little bit. If you look at the future, we're using GPUs at the moment, which are not which I don't think are the optimal solution for crunching this data. So there will come out more tech that is more optimal for doing this work, which will reduce the electricity load. But it's almost for me, it's almost a separate conversation about humans, how humans impact the environment, and it's separate from AI because we just do it everywhere because of human nature. God,
I did review on that last one.
So, a few years ago, GPUs were used to mine crypto, and you used to be able to buy graphics cards with 12 gig of RAM, 16 gig of RAM, and then they stopped making them. And you can now buy graphics cards with only 8 gig of RAM at most, maybe 6 or 4. With AI also using GPU compute, do you see any power imbalance between the large corporations that have data centers and cloud GPUs with gigabytes of memory versus the smaller, gamer being able to run it locally? Do you even see, or is it, a smaller developer? Are they reliant on a larger provider to go? You need to have a cloud model to run this because it's so big and so powerful, and so you can't run it locally because. And then does that stifle the small developer growing because they are dependent on a much larger partner, such as server costs for hosting multiplayer games? They are extensive, and you want to reduce those. So does a AI game, even if it's not multiplayer, have this ongoing server cost that might just continue increasing?
So the answer is I don't really know, but I can speculate. So I think we're still very early on in the technology. So when you download a 16 gig file model and you have to put it in memory somewhere on your GPU, will that model always be 16 gig? Can models be made smaller and more specific for the utility that they're being used for? These are very general models, so they're big, so they can do lots of different stuff. I don't know if Google have come out with one that fits on their pixels, but I can imagine in a couple of years' time we'll have small enough models just to do the basics of what Siri or whatever can do on your phone, and they'll be able to run on your phone. So yeah, I think it's just in its infancy the tech is, so that's why GPUs go like that, that's why electricity's going like that. But if you live in a capitalist society, they don't want it to stay that way. They don't want to keep paying for all these GPUs. They don't want to keep paying for electricity. So in theory, because of the market theory, it should reduce in cost and increase in efficiency. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying, I don't really know, but hopefully it'll be in a couple of years. It'll be a bit more efficient. I think it's the efficiency part of it. Yeah, we're building AI models and running AI models with hardware that is not specific enough to run those things, and that will change.
Sorry, I have one question. So I'm 58, not as young as these guys in here, and I work in law. And so it's a very grey environment. It's not black or white. Tell me the benefits of AI.
Okay. So the benefit of AI to somebody potentially in a law firm is you can upload your entire legal documentation to the AI and you can ask it questions. And you can say, give me all the legal, I don't know the terms for it. Give me all the legal stuff and tell me where it is in this documentation. So, in some cases, that might be enough for you to do your job faster. Okay. The second way, and this is the more wider way I think it will be used, is computers came about X years ago, and people people of our generation migrated to the internet, and people of the older generation find it difficult to use computers.
Not me.
You're in our generation. But like I've seen my granddad try and use a computer and bloody
Oh my God, you've
hell.
got me in the grandma era.
So, what if you could use your computer by saying, open up Excel. Okay, let's add in my tax. Oh God, I don't know what to use Excel. My accounts. Okay, that number's not quite right. That number's not quite right. Okay, now take me to the internet. I want to check my bank account. I want to check my phone bill. I want to do that. Do you see how that interaction through natural language is so much better for people who literally can't access this tech? And that is how I think AI would benefit in the more general
I get
sense.
that, but let's put in personal experiences, personal background, personal. What have you experienced in life? What have you grown up with? Why have you made these choices in life? Why have you done this? How does that work in that environment? To make an informed decision about which way forward you go.
In a law environment, we sort of.
Yeah.
You could probably, if I may, you could probably use it as a way to summarize.
Summarize?
And as a way to get hypotheticals, maybe?
Hypotheticals?
Before going to trial, maybe get hypotheticals how that, according to the law, what could happen if. Maybe.
Yeah. Hypotheticals, yeah. Tiff, do you want to?
I was going to say something quite similar, is in law and jurisdictional decisions, there's often an element of precedence, right? Trials in grey areas of what has been decided at the time. It's especially true in everything online at the moment where the law has not caught up. We don't know about it. Things like online harassment and stuff like that, we have no idea, the law is not covering enough of that, that a lot of the decisions in court are made based on what's happening right there and the elements and the data of that specific court case. And those court cases will then feed potential advancements of the law, and the generative AI, as much as personally I'm not a fan of it, can help you prepare for the trial, prepare for what are the counter-arguments, what are precedents, what are other cases that has happened. Can you aggregate all of that data for me instead of spending how many dozens of hours you would have to read through every court case in the past 5 or 10 years that would be similar to what you're dealing with at the moment.
So yeah, I don't know if it's probably not a silver bullet, but it can help.
One more question?
Great. Thanks so much for the talk, it was great. So the examples you gave of games using generative AI, really cool, but it sort of stayed on that genre of a conversational agent.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of examples you could give or any ideas you could give of mechanics that could be enhanced using generative AI that aren't conversational?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I went with the conversational side of things because it's a little less, if you start talking about generating images and generating 3D models, that does work, quite sophisticated in some ways. You know, if you go to like AI Skybox or something, some really good skyboxes in there. Obviously that's helping you make the game, it's not mechanics, but if a player was, I don't know, in a dream sort of simulator, dream simulation world, and you want to say, okay, well, I want to go to the beach now. Potentially you could get the images and put the backgrounds in for the beach. If you're more sophisticated, you put the models in, beach ball. But yeah, I think the easiest one to understand and to use at the moment is probably the text version of it. I'd love to see some examples of it being used, some more imagey and model-y some kind of examples. Music is another one, sound, sorry Darren. But yeah, I mean, if you were, the sound text stuff, the generative AI sound modelling is really sophisticated. So if you wanted a narration to your I don't know, a different musical theme for your bard that you've created in Baldur's Gate 3. Potentially you can have that as well, and it could be unique to you. It's like the uniqueness thing, which can be quite powerful, I think, mechanics-wise. I don't know, the chat stuff seems more interesting for me, but I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought about it enough, I think.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. So, just quickly, so we're gonna have a very quick intermission, and then we'll get cracking with Dave. Just a couple of things before we head to the bar quickly, though, or the loos, or whatever it is that you want to do. Mill Street runs something called Make Good Grow, which is just a really awesome initiative. I just wanted to shout them out because it's basically, Make Good Grow is a CIC, so a community interest company. They basically, I think the kind of tagline is they act like a dating service for people who have skills and want to put those skills to use in good causes. So you can work with charities and stuff. Obviously it's just sort of free work that you do, but it's just a nice thing to do. If you're interested, there's like codes and stuff around on the table, so if you want to, I don't know, do some dev work for a charity or something like that, then it'd be a cool thing to do. Just a couple of things from the GDG as well, very quickly. So if you enjoy what we do and you've enjoyed tonight, or if you haven't, just give us a star rating on Meetup or Google, just whatever you think we deserve. 5 stars, hopefully, but maybe less. And then if you really like what we do, then we're starting to implement a pay what you want scheme to the events. So this is basically, that pay what you want could be absolutely zero, and that is absolutely fine. There's zero pressure. It's more about kind of supporting the event, supporting us, and yeah. So it's literally, there's zero pressure, zero obligation. But if you like what we do, then maybe think about paying for attendance. We've also got on Coffee a monthly membership as well, which is, I suppose, a premium membership, but it's more just a thanks for supporting us membership, which is like £15 a month if you're interested, and you get just some cool perks. So we're going to be doing merch raffles, we're going to be doing sort of behind the scenes speaker interviews with people who are speaking at our events, and we've also, there's an office there with Endurance Zone on it. They've got some really cool tech which basically amalgamates discounts and things from different products, so it allows you to plug in discounts, and so we're going to be offering those discounts to people who pay the £15 a month. So it's more about supporting the GDG and what we do, but then there's bits back for you guys as well. And because it's not all about us, we're going to be donating some of those funds to Special Effect as well. So if you don't know Special Effect, they just do some really awesome work in the games industry, making games just more accessible for people who can't play them. So yeah, that's it. If you want to go get a beer, get some, go to the loo, and we'll reconvene in about 10 minutes. Cheers.
I've got that video with their sound, don't worry, I can just talk over it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
I thought he played...
when he played games.
I was like...
Yeah. Of course,
it's fine, I'll just... Sorry, guys.
Oh, the stream? No, it's just going.
Cool. I've got like a brief one anyway, so...
Okay.
Happy to talk about it.
Okay.